Today we are going to be talking about equivalent ratios. Just a quick reminder, ratios are a way that we can compare two numbers. It can be written as a fraction, such as 2/3. It can be written in ratio form, 2, and we use the semicolon to represent our ratio. So we'd read this as 2:3. Or we can write it in word form, 2:3. All of those are acceptable ways to write ratios. Now, when we are creating equivalent ratios, we are wanting, our goal with it is that the numbers will be equal. So if we simplify it down, it would come down to the same simplified ratio. So if we look at this first one right here, number 1, we're starting with the ratio of 24/56. Obviously, this number is not in our simplest form, but we're wanting to get to 3 to something. So we can look at this backwards. We know we have 24 here, and we wound up with 3 over here. So what would we divide 24 by to get 3? (24) divided by 3 would be 8. So now we know that we are looking at a factor of 8. So now we have 56 here. This is what's going to relate to the second half of our ratio over here. 56 divided by 8 equals 7. So our simplified ratio over here becomes a 3 to 7 ratio. And we know because we reduced our original ratio here down to 3/7. Now let's come over here and look at number 2. We're starting with the ratio of 7 to 56, and we're wanting to get to something to 72. So we're relating this 56 to the 72 here. First thing we need to do is simplify this ratio down to its simplest form. And the easiest way to look at that is to turn it into a fraction, because we are more comfortable working with fractions. So we know both 7 and 56 are divisible by 7. So we are going to divide both the top and the bottom by 7. 7 divided by 7 gives us 1, and 56 divided by 7 gives us 8. So we know that the most simplified version of this ratio for these equivalent ratios is a 1:8 ratio. Now, what would we multiply 8 by to get to 72? We would multiply 8 by 9. So we're going to do the same thing over here. 1 times 9 is 9. So we wind up with the ratio of 9 to 72. All right, let's come down here and look at number 3. We have the starting ratio of 5 to 9. That is our simplest form, so we know we are starting with our simplest ratio. Now we're going to relate our 9 to our 27. 9 times what gives us 27? We know that we multiply 9 times 3 to get 27. So we're going to do the same thing here. 5 times 3 equals 15. So we wind up with a ratio of 15 to 27. All right, let's come over here and look at number 4 now. Blank to 20 is equal to 8 to 5 ratio. Now I know that my 8 to 5 ratio is the simplest version of this ratio. And we're going to relate again the second number to the second number. So we have 8/5. And notice I'm writing these a couple different ways just to see what works best for you guys. 8/5 is equal to what over 20? What times 5 gives us 20? 4, right? And we have to do the same thing to the top that we do to the bottom. 8 times 4 is 20. 8 times 4 is 36. So we would have 36 here for the first part of this ratio. All right, now we're going to come down here to number 5. We have blank to 5 is equal to 72 to 30. So just like we did up here, we're going to have blank to 5 is equal to 72 over 30. What times 5 gives us 30? 6, right? Or we can look at it as 30 divided by 5 would give us 6. We have to do the same thing to both sides of the fraction. 72 divided by 6 would be 12. So we have 12 to 5 is equal to 72 to 30. Notice I'm making these into fractions here. We can also do it as a ratio if you guys want to keep them in ratio form. So we have 12 and 16. Those don't equally go into each other, so our best bet is to simplify this ratio. So we have 16 to 24. We know that 8 goes into both 16 and 24. Divided by 8. Whoops, why am I writing 2? 16 divided by 8 equals 2, and 24 divided by 8 equals 3. So we have our original ratio now of 2 to 3. Now we're trying to figure out 12 to what would be the equivalent ratio. That's where we're coming back up here to this. 2 times 6 would give us 12, so 3 times 6 would give us 18. All right, let's come down here to number 7. We have the ratio of 15 to what is equal to 24 to 56. Just like we did up here with number 6, we know that this is not the simplest form and we can't easily turn 15 into 24. So we're going to simplify 24 to 56, which we can also write as a fraction. We know that both 24 and 56 are divisible by 8. 24 divided by 8 gives us 3, and 56 divided by 8 gives us 7. So our simplest form of our ratio here is a 3 to 7 ratio. Now we want to compare that to 15 to what? And we want to find what the equivalent ratio is going to be. 3 times 5 gives us 15, so 7 times 5 would give us 35. And we have 35 here. And I apologize, I just realized I never came up here and wrote 18 in the answer. All right, last question here for number 8. We have 72 to blank is equal to 16 to 18. 16 to 18 aren't in their simplest form, so we are going to simplify it by turning it into a fraction. Now remember, this can still be viewed as a ratio even if it's in fraction form. Just know that if it is asked for you to write it in ratio form, we're looking for this, for the semicolon way to write it. So for 16 to 18, we want to simplify it down. We know that both of these numbers are divisible by 2. 16 divided by 2 would give us 8/9, which would make our ratio an 8:9 ratio. Now we are wanting to turn it into 72 to what would be equivalent to 8:9. So we know that 8 times 9 gives us 72, so 9 times 9 would give us 81. And our answer here would be 81. Now there's several different ways you can do it. For these first couple ones here, we started with the simplest form of the ratio. So this was our simplest form of the ratio. This one we did have to simplify down, but this one we started with the simplest form of the ratio. This one we had the simplest form of the ratio. But if you don't have that simplest form when you're starting out, your best bet is going to be to simplify it. Up here we had our 7 to 56, variable divisible by 7, and we wound up with 1/8. 1/8, or our 1 to 8 ratio, would be our simplest form of that. And then we took it the next step with our 1 to 8 ratio is equal to something to 72. Knowing that 8 times 9 gives us 72, we would multiply 1 times 9 to get that 9 here. So some of these are single step if you're starting with your simplified ratio. Some of them are going to be multiple step where you have to simplify it, then expand it out into a bigger equivalent ratio. Thanks for watching.